Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third selection in our Hollywood's finest classic musical series, West Side Story, 1961, directed by Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins, starring Natalie Wood, Richard Beymer, and Rita Moreno. The score was written by Leonard Bernstein with lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, and the choreography was created by Jerome Robbins. The unique titles were designed by Saul Bass. The screenplay by Ernest Lehman was adapted from the 1957 Broadway version of the show, which originally had a Catholic boy falling in love with a Jewish girl, and a working title of East Side Story. But the influence of Puerto Rican newcomers brought about the change in ethnicity of the characters and a new title. And the musical tried to paint a picture of the trials of the Puerto Rican immigrant population as they attempted to blend into life in the Big Apple. West Side Story was well received both critically and commercially. It was nominated for 11 Oscars and won 10, including Best Picture, Best Scoring in a Musical Picture, Best Art Direction Color, Best Costume Design Color, and the first Best Director Oscar ever given to two directors at the same time, Wise and Robbins. The film holds the title for most Oscars ever won by a movie musical. Bosley Crowther of the New York Times said that the film was nothing short of a cinema masterpiece. But the likes of Pauline Kael, writing in the New Yorker, slammed the movie, saying that it was frenzied hokum. The dialogue was painfully old-fashioned and mawkish. The dancing was simpering, sickly, romantic ballet, and the machine-tooled Natalie Wood was so perfectly banal that she destroys all thoughts of love. Despite Kael's sour review, the movie now ranks number 2 on the American Film Institute's list of 100 best musicals. Most of the film was shot at Sam Goldwyn Studios in West Hollywood, California, with the exception of some exterior scenes filmed in Manhattan, on West 68th Street, between Amsterdam and West End Avenues, an area now known as Lincoln Center Towers, and on East 110th Street, between 2nd and 3rd Avenues. The interior sets were built 6 feet off the ground to allow for low-angle shooting and large 70mm cameras. To satisfy critics who complained that the Broadway version had belittled Puerto Rico, the movie lyrics were rewritten to emphasize the discrimination experienced by Puerto Ricans arriving in the United States. Censors objected to some of the lines in the Officer Krupke number, considering them too risque for the movie audience. So they were changed from, "My father is a bastard," "My mother's an SOB," "My grandpa's always plastered," to, "My daddy beats my mommy clobbers me, my grandpa is a commie." Financially, West Side Story became the highest-grossing film of 1962, earning $44 million on an investment of $6.75 million. The soundtrack became the best-selling record of the 1960s and spent 54 weeks on the Billboard charts. Plot summary. West Side Story is the story of Romeo and Juliet transported to the Upper West Side of Manhattan. In the 1950s, two rival gangs, one the White Jets and the other the Puerto Rican Sharks, battle for control of the local streets. Tony, a former leader of the Jets, falls in love with Maria, the baby sister of Bernardo, leader of the opposing Sharks. The animosity of the rival gangs builds until they can agree on only one thing, that there must be a rumble to determine who will control the neighborhood. Maria sends Tony to stop the rumble, but everything goes wrong, and a true Shakespearean tragedy ensues. Fun facts about the film. Natalie Wood and George Chakiris wore heavy makeup to darken their skin to appear more Puerto Rican. Rita Moreno, who actually is Puerto Rican, wore the same makeup to match them. The boys' jeans were dyed, re-dyed, and distressed, using special elastic thread to allow for the rigors of the choreography. Throughout the movie, Natalie Wood wore a bracelet on her left wrist to hide an injury. It became her trademark in all her later movies. All of the main characters had their vocals dubbed except George Chakiris. Jerome Robbins was fired because his habit of shooting multiple takes of each dance number caused production delays and budget overruns, but he did receive his full directorial credits and an Oscar. During the prologue, the Jets play with a basketball, and before they walk away, they throw it away to a kid, who turns out to be Kit Culkin, father of Macaulay Culkin, star of Home Alone. Because Natalie Wood couldn't snap her fingers, the sounds of finger snapping had to be dubbed on the soundtrack. Maria's last lines, "Don't you touch him," and "Te amo, Anton," were spoken by Marnie Nixon, not Natalie Wood. Many shots imitate the work of artists Ben Shahn and Robert Vickrey. Director Robert Wise hired local gang members to control the crowds while shooting on location in New York City. Sondheim used his personally created gang slang here and there, i.e. Cracko Jacko and Pam Pam. The opening prologue number was shot on West 68th Street between Amsterdam and West End Avenues, and on East 110th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenues, and then edited together to look like one neighborhood. The dancers playing the Jets and the Sharks suffered shin splints from dancing on New York's concrete streets. West Side Story's poster art was contributed by Joseph Karoff, including posters from Palace Days Park near Fort Lee, New Jersey. The producers negotiated product placements with several companies, including Coca-Cola, Broma Seltzer, and Tootsie Rolls. The face on the ubiquitous political posters on the West Side streets belongs to character actor Barry Kelly. During the Cool number, in the garage, a number of Jewel Home Shopping Services trucks can be seen. They belonged to the Jewel Tea Company, which delivered coffee, tea, spices, and dry goods to homemakers. In the opening scene, PS 94 can be seen at the corner of West 68th and Amsterdam Avenue. Riff and Tony take an oath of loyalty to each other. Riff says, "Womb to tomb," and Tony answers with, "Birth to earth." The Cool number was so arduous that the actors burned their knee pads when they wrapped the scene. The Al Wood posters reference one of the production designers, Alan K. Wood. Maria wears a blood-red dress in the scene where Tony dies in her arms. When Marnie Nixon heard that she was not going to receive a share in the profits from the recording, she demanded a percentage of the LP profits, but was told by the producers that all percentages had been allocated. When Bernstein heard about this, he gave her 0.25% of his personal royalties. His generosity set a precedent for all future Ghost singers. Things to look for: no opening credits, but note the stylized tinted aerial stills of Manhattan sights and use of red, orange, and blue color schemes as the overture plays. See if you can spot the SS United States and Columbia University. Rita Moreno's taunting scene as she tries to see Tony. The makeup on Natalie Wood and George Chakiris to make them look more Puerto Rican. The boys' specially made dyed and distressed jeans. The lyrics "In America," which describe the Puerto Rican immigrants' experiences. Natalie Wood's trademark bracelet. George Chakiris' voice, the only one that isn't dubbed. Kit Culkin's brief appearance as a boy catching a basketball during the prologue. Listen for the dubbed finger-snapping sounds. In the quintet or rumble song, hear Marnie Nixon singing for both Natalie Wood and Rita Moreno. Look for the Palisades Park and political posters. And Wood's last line, "Don't you touch him," and "Te amo, Anton," spoken by Marnie Nixon. Product placement for Coca-Cola and Tootsie Roll, the Jewel of Hope shopping service trucks, closing credits hidden in chalk graffiti on the local walls, and Tony and Riff's pledge of loyalty to each other. Now it's time to view West Side Story. Sit back, settle down, and please remember it may take a few minutes for the film to roll. Enjoy.